So it's been 4 weeks since day one purchasers like myself first got our hands on one of the most powerful PC handhelds ever released in the Asus ROG Ally. But as many of you will know, that its launch hasn't been without its fair share of issues. So let's look at all the great positives of the Ally, including its two very best features, some things that maybe aren't quite so great, and finally to see if the Ally really is worth buying 4 weeks after launch. So let's dive straight in and start with the setup process. And yeah, this was a bit rocket to say the least.
Miami Pie in the house, yeah!
What is your opinion?
Did you know what I think? It doesn't matter what your opinion is!
Now I'm sure setup was plain sailing for many of you experienced Windows 11 users, like one of our great viewers, Lone Ranger 1796. But to really think that Asus missed a crucial step here for not really including some kind of setup guide for people like myself who have never used Windows 11 before getting the Ally, which would have massively helped. But not to worry if you're getting an Ally soon, as right here on the channel is an optimization guide in 7 essential steps. Next, let's look at ergonomics, and at 608 grams, the Ally feels pretty light and comfortable in the hands, although it did take a little getting used to for 2 reasons. The first is being so used to the awesome Steam Deck, where both joysticks are at the top. It did take a bit of getting used to the lower placement of the right joystick on the Ally. And second is that the bottom of the Ally does slightly dig into your palms until you get used to the grip. Next is buttons and thumbsticks, and there was some concern on those early review units with some sticky buttons, but thankfully I haven't had any issues over these past 4 weeks, and both buttons and thumbsticks, while feeling a tad on the loose side, do feel really great. The RGB lights can be a little bit divisive among early users, but I actually really enjoy them and think that they add a nice touch, especially in lower light settings. The D-pad was also criticised by some users for not being too great, but I think it feels pretty solid and is very responsive. If you've been watching the channel from the beginning, then many of you will have probably realised that the Super Nintendo is my very favourite console to emulate, and the D-pad, after many hours of use over these past 4 weeks, has been awesome. Next, let's talk about the speakers on the Ally, and all I can say is wow.
With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy.
It's only in person when you're using the Ally do you get to really hear the sheer volume and clarity of the 2 Dolby Atmos speakers, and I'd go so far to say that probably these are the best speakers I've ever heard on a handheld. Next is the fan noise, and at launch the fans were whisper quiet, which was a big selling point for the Ally. But Asus in their very latest BIOS 322 did quite drastically increase the fan speed as a result of the SD card issue. Asus did put out a statement a few days ago and have promised us that they will keep the fan noise level in check as they deal with the SD card issue, so let's see how this plays out. And with most of us playing our AAA games on the Ally with our headphones on, which obviously creates a better immersion in our games, I don't think the louder fans is too much of a drawback for most of us. And no 4-week review of the Ally would be complete without a mention of the SD card situation, and I'll give my thoughts on this at the end of the video. Next is a feature that not many reviewers have mentioned, and that is just how responsive and accurate the Ally's touchscreen really is. Of course it's not perfect, but I think it's much more quicker and far less laggy than, say, the Steam Deck for comparison. Next, let's discuss Windows 11, and this is both one of the Ally's greatest strengths and also our Achilles heel. There are 3 huge strengths, and the first is that it is awesome to have a handheld that we can finally download Xbox Game Pass games onto and play natively on the device. Yeah!
Yeah!
The second benefit is the great compatibility with the various game launchers like EA and Rockstar apps that make launching games so quick and easy with minimal fuss. And the third thing that I absolutely love is how straight from a game you can instantly go back into desktop mode compared to the Steam Deck where it's nowhere near as seamless. But yes, with Windows 11 not being fully optimized and tailor-made for a handheld, you are going to get a lot of quirks, jankiness, and also the usual Windows clutter and bloat like Word and PowerPoint on a gaming handheld. And stuff like in sleep mode, the screen randomly comes back on sometimes, and I've no idea why the thumbstick RGBs randomly start pulsating sometimes. It's pretty baffling. Thankfully, Asus's custom Armory Crate app does go quite some way to making our gaming experience on the Ally that bit more refined. So let's hope much more customization and updates are on the way. And it could be very well due to the fact that, as I say, I've never used Windows 11 before the Ally. So let us know in the comments below how you find Windows on the handheld. Battery life on the Ally is another area that has disappointed quite a few people. As with AAA games, then yes, you're really not going to get much over an hour. And while the limited battery life isn't ideal, I personally don't think this is a massive issue, as I'm sure most of us do use our Allies at home or even in the garden or bedroom where there is a nearby plug socket or extension always close by, or indeed the use of a power bank. And let's finish with the Ally's two greatest features. The first is that glorious 1080p 120Hz V-Sync display. And again, it's just so hard to convey in videos just how incredible this screen really is, as you do just have to see it in person to realize just how glorious it truly is. And it's in all the extra details that the display of the Ally that creates a new level of immersion previously not seen on a handheld. From the stud marks on the pitch playing FIFA 23 to the dirt splattering on the tire flaps of Dirt 5. Seeing truly is believing. Just before we look at the final best feature of the Ally, if you're enjoying this video, then be sure to like and subscribe right now, as it massively helps the channel out and so you don't miss out on any of the awesome content planned over these next few weeks and months. And the final best feature of the Ally is, of course, all that incredible performance power, which is the crown jewel in the handheld's arsenal. Being able to play so many of the very latest AAA titles like FIFA 23 at 60 plus frames per second on a handheld truly is something that we could have only dreamt about just a few short years ago. You really do feel like some kind of otherworldly magic is in your hands as you play these incredible games thanks to the sheer power afforded by the Ally, and it truly is mind-blowing. So to sum up, is the Ally really worth recommending after 4 weeks of it now being on sale? The subtitle of this review is "The Ally really is an untamed beast," and the recent launch issues such as the SD card slot clearly demonstrate that even Asus themselves can't fully tame this absolute beast of a gaming handheld. One of our awesome viewers on the channel, Rayan, summed it up more perfectly than many of us could, as he said that he's had many headaches from owning the Ally, but that's the bleeding edge for you. If you don't walk away having paid the cost in blood, then it's not really the bleeding edge now, is it? The glorious full HD 7-inch screen and unmatched power of the Ally truly do make it bleeding edge technology. And if you indeed are willing to embrace the occasional cost in blood and headaches of owning the device, such as the lack of optimization of Windows 11 and the uncertainty of the whole SD card situation, then the Ally could very well be one of the greatest gaming experiences you'll ever have. And I'd love to hear your review of your first 4 weeks if you've bought the Ally. Let us know your favourite parts of the handheld and anything perhaps that you're not particularly fond of. And if you're thinking of getting the Ally, then is there anything that's stopping you? And as a little extra bonus for watching right to the end of the video, I'd love to share this awesome quote. The strongest people make time to help others, even if they're struggling with their own problems. There are lots of hurting people around us, so let's do our very best to keep both ourselves and others encouraged today, guys. And check this video out if you'd like to see how the Light Me Fantasy 3 backlit TV kit creates an incredible level of immersion when used with the Ally, as you just saw with Brock Lesnar in WWE 2K23. You guys are so awesome, and I hope you all know how much I appreciate every single one of you for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.